Issue 13. But would you look at that? Tails can fly plane. Something only a really smart little kid would be able to do. And yet the comic still hasn't gotten the memo. Also, it looks ugly with the green color. I don't know how they managed to get it wrong. Sonic was spending some nice quality time with Tails looking for Robotnik's hovercraft when they found Angel Island by coincidence. I like how they gave an explanation about why they're flying around in the first place. I don't think Sonic 3 ever did that. It makes sense Sonic would assume it was a Chaos Emerald that kept the island afloat. This is the comic that introduces Knuckles, who knocked Sonic and Tails out of the plane, thanks for the pun there, Sonic, all because they went to his island. Why would Sonic think there's a flight to Knothole Forest in a desolate dystopia where Eggman rules all? Not to mention, on an island where, how is he supposed to know there's anyone there besides Knuckles? Sonic and Tails get attacked by a flying robot, and while Sonic says a stupid line, he notices that he's gotten an electric shield all of a sudden, and immediately jumps into the water with Tails. Good. Not only have they realized that you can't talk underwater, but Sonic's electric shield fizzles out in it too. Although I really could have done without the comic telling me to use the Genesis controller I don't have to control Sonic and Tails. At least they're not literally looking at the camera saying it this time. So Sonic and Tails wake up in Eggman's base in Sonic Lost World, and Knuckles tells them that Robotnik turned them against him. I guess Knuckles, living all alone with no real social contact for his whole life, doesn't recognize obviously evil when he sees it, having no exposure to TV and stuff, but still, you'd think he'd be suspicious of someone who intentionally tries to make themselves look menacing with black and red eyes. Sonic breaks the fourth wall after Knuckles forgets that he already told Sonic and Tails about Chaos Emerald. Wait a minute, first of all, why does Knuckles think he knows that echidnas are firm but fair? Does he know what echidnas are stereotyped to be like? Second, why did Eggman and Knuckles keep Sonic and Tails from drowning? At least Knuckles let him go with a warning. But then he says to Eggman that he's going to give them the business. So why did he set them free just to go after them again? I love how Knuckles talks back to Eggman and stuff. Sonic 3 really had a missed opportunity not showing us how Knuckles and Eggman interacted. And I like the idea that Knuckles wasn't exactly blindly obedient and admiring of Eggman. Eggman, after lying to Knuckles that he's a freedom fighter as if Knuckles would even care about something that's related to the world outside of his home, gets some robots ready, and Knuckles chases after Sonic and Tails. He notices that the stone is gone, but somehow figures out that Sonic and Tails didn't take it because they just got there. He should have been written to say that it's because they don't have it in their hand, but whatever. Sonic and Knuckles team up to face off against Eggman's robots, and they jump out of his plane, with Knuckles gliding and Tails flying. Tails wonders about their plane, and Knuckles explains that he brought their plane back because he was busy picking up the pieces while the two of them were going for an unexpected swim. Didn't the plane get damaged earlier? Does this mean Knuckles fixed the plane himself? Hey, anything to make him smarter. Now for a story written by someone else. We see Sonic taking advantage of his sharp spines in a creative way to make a statue of Antoine for some reason. Sally shows up saying that Robotnik has built an orbiting space weapon that can fire a series of powerful rays at the planet, and somehow roboticize any living being within a 100-mile radius. Rotor says it can also cause a TV set to only tune into infomercials in a forced attempt at comedy to water the tension down. How does that even work? They saw the space weapon and overheard Robotnik bragging about it, which is why they know about it. Why would Tails think Eggman reads comic books to get inspired in the first place? I guess it's him being naive again? After Bunny points out the obvious, Sonic takes advantage of his super speed to distract the SWAT bots at the base and lure them away, and the Freedom Fighters start sabotaging the main circuits. Tails hears the word circuits and thinks it means circus. This right here is a perfect example of the betrayal of Tails' character this betrayal of Tails is. He is so far removed from the way he should have been that he doesn't even know what circuits are. Eggman, wearing a spacesuit, brags that he plans to roboticize the Freedom Fighters from above. Sally starts trying to take everyone back to Knothole right away. It's kind of endearing how Tails says being up and out of space is scary, and naively saying that it's like he's trapped in a gumball machine. Eggman has Snively shoot the spaceship while characteristically looking away because he doesn't want him to shoot something looking like him. And after draining the ship's power, he brags to the freedom fighters on their TV monitor. Sonic tells Sally that there's just a little power left, enough to get them to the moon as their only chance at survival. I guess he's really desperate. Why would it matter if they land or not? Eggman's still following them. They crash because they don't have enough power for a safe landing, but the ship has its fall conveniently broken by mud. Since when does Antoine think of anything clever at this point in the comic? Eggman's ship gets stuck in the mud as well, only to reveal that his ship is a transformer and can kick the other ship out of the mud, and once again looks away while telling Snively to do it. For some reason I was expecting this to be the way that the freedom fighters get home, because their spaceship gets kicked all the way back home, but instead, the freedom fighters had left the spaceship before that could happen, and started walking in the mud for some reason. I'm not sure why they did. At least Sally mentions the fact that they don't have as much air as before on this place, but they still have air, which is pretty unbelievable. The sheer fact that they even thought to exit the spaceship at all on a planet that they shouldn't have been able to breathe on is ridiculously contrived. Why would they think they even could breathe here? And then Sonic distracts Eggman by using a Chekhov's gun. Hey, I'm impressed! He creates a sculpture of Eggman that collapses on him, and allows him and his friends ample time to use Eggman's spaceship to get home, while Eggman gets karmatic comeuppance because Snively has to dig him out with a spoon. And naturally, the freedom fighters aren't so happy about eating mush afterwards, since it looks so much like the mud they got out of. Do they always eat stuff that looks that bad? The first story was written by both Ken Penders and Mike Kantarovic once again, and only really existed to introduce Knuckles to the story, not bothering to use any of the levels from Sonic 3 aside from having Sonic and Tails go through one water tunnel part of Hydro City Zone. It didn't even introduce the Master Emerald, instead pushing the fake story that he was guarding a Chaos Emerald that was only in the instruction manuals of the game to avoid spoiling his real duty. I'm accepting this as early installment weirdness like a retcon, but still. Sonic clearly showed at one point, when he was fighting a giant lizard robot, that he had found all 7 Chaos Emeralds. If Knuckles is the guardian of a Chaos Emerald and that's his sworn duty, then he's the worst guardian ever! Well, I just remembered that apparently at this point in the comics, they were too ignorant to realize that there were only 7 Chaos Emeralds, even though those basic of research in the games would have told them that. Apparently this is the point where there's a ridiculous amount of them out there. But that makes Knuckles guarding 1 emerald even less impressive. I did really like how Knuckles interacted with Eggman though, and how he easily figured out that Sonic wasn't the bad guy, and apparently fixed Tails' plane. He's surprisingly smart here, aside from the whole isn't suspicious of someone with menacing black and red eyes thing. Even a caveman would be reluctant to trust them, especially since those eyes couldn't be natural. Isn't it supposed to be an echidna thing where they hate technology for no reason? So wouldn't he immediately distrust Eggman because he has technology eyes? The second story was written by Angela. It definitely had some high stakes. The freedom fighters had very good reason to get worried over Eggman's overpowered master roboticizer. Seriously, he should have only been able to roboticize someone after going through the trouble of capturing them. The main villain just being able to shoot someone with a beam from space and effortlessly turn them into a slave sounds really overpowered and cheap. But anyways, as tense as the situation was, not to mention interesting with the whole space travel thing having never been done in the comic before, I wasn't finding it all that exciting. I realized this when Sonic used a Chekhov's gun by saving the day by making another sculpture, and that impressed me enough to wake me up. I'm not sure why I was bored. There was nothing really wrong with the plot, other than the obvious fact that the stakes were artificial because we all know the freedom fighters are going to make it home safely in the end and not be stranded or killed in outer space. Really, the only big problem, the closest thing there is to one, is that there's no explanation for why Sonic would ever make a sculpture of Antoine in the first place. He even says that the sculpture being headless is an improvement, while Antoine screams in terror. Best to not read into that too much. Still, you'd think they would have explained why Sonic was doing the very thing that gave him the idea to ultimately save the day. I find the concept of a mud-covered moon very interesting at least. Makes me wonder how this came to be and why mud covers the entire surface. But the fact that Sonic and his friends could breathe there at all was pretty unbelievable. but since we never saw any trees producing oxygen on that moon, the sushi as a whole was pretty good. Nothing that really soured the whole experience. Nothing that got me really excited like someone other than someone having a badass moment either.